it safe is not going to get you the life that you want. 1 year ago, I was in Nairobi living a very normal life. Okay, yes, I admit, right, I don't think I've necessarily ever typically lived a normal life, right, but I was living a pretty normal life. And by normal, I mean I had not acquired the manifestations I was seeking. For years on years on years, I put in the work, I isolated myself, I was doing hours like 8 to 13 hours a day of just pure work. Just trying to build something. And I failed so many times. I remember how embarrassed I felt when everybody else was, pursuing the traditional education system and I wasn't. I was a crazy person who was not at school, and I wasn't at school because of circumstances, right? But I was still in this position where I was still actively doing everything I could to pursue just maybe making money or just entrepreneurship in general. And I didn't even know what that meant, right? And when I was in motion, right? When I was in a position where my life didn't look the way I wanted it to look and I didn't know what choice to make, I just started to do everything I could to create. And I remember the January of 2024, I told myself, I was like, I don't care what it's going to take me. I don't care what level or how extreme I have to go. I will do everything that I can by the end of January to have established something that will be successful. I don't care. When I tell you I don't care, and I remember it had reached mid January and things were not working out for me. Basically this thing that I said where I was like, it's going to succeed. And I remember I had started something and it failed, right? And I was licking my wounds for a bit, and then I was like, no, Elsie, we said that this January I don't care how we're going to get there. We said that this January we're going to make a difference in our life. So I don't care how you're going to get there. I don't know what tricks you're going to pull. I don't know what prayers you're going to pray, but you're going to figure it out. And I remember last 15 days of that January, I was searching videos, I was doing everything in my capacity to make sure I got something. And I remember stumbling on one video, and this one video then eventually became, my African entrepreneurship brand, which now I can say has, is beginning to reap the fruit. But that also has taken 2 years of work. But anyways, besides the point, I never got this brand. I never have the life that I have because I played it safe. I know what it is. I know what it is to be isolated. I know what it is to be talked about. There are people yapping there. Yeah, people are yapping. Everybody's there yapping and scattering, as they say in Nigeria. Guys, scatter the room. People are there chatting, right? But playing it safe didn't, if I played it safe, I wouldn't have what I have today. But it meant that at one point I had to just be extreme, and maybe in a way people thought I was risking too much, right? Putting too much on the line. But it's today I can look back and be like, if I played it safe, I wouldn't have the opportunities that I have today, right? And I say that to say, a lot of people are playing it safe, expecting that playing it safe the way every single other person is. 99% of people, let's say 80% of people will not succeed in this life the way they want to succeed. So how can you play 80% of people and expect to live the 1% life that is you, right? Because the 1% isn't what people define it to just be about money and wealth. But the 1% means the 1% of people who can wake up in the morning and shape their day. The 1% of people who can wake up in the morning and say, this is the life that I want. And I qualify for all the opportunities that this life has to offer. Not because I'm special, no, because I was willing to not play it safe. Playing it safe will not get you where you want. I look at my life today, and if I played it safe, if God allowed me to go through the traditional path, if my life didn't fall apart when it fell apart, and that meant that I had to stop living a normal life, right? At that moment, that was the moment that God blessed me the most, because it felt like a curse at that moment. It felt like the worst possible thing that had ever happened to me in my life, which has become the best possible thing that has ever happened in my life. Why? Because today I have options. I have the option to say no, right? I have the option to say this is not what I want, but this thing is working, right? And I may not know where it's going to go, but it's working. And once you have that thing, and this is the most interesting thing about not playing it safe, right? Not playing it safe it's almost the equal amount of time that it will take you to play it safe. Right? So if you're in a degree for 3 years and you play it safe during those 3 years of your degree, the outcome would be, right, the same sort of like that same period of time, if you didn't play it safe while doing that degree, right, and you were pursuing other things, and you were actively doing everything in your capacity, and recognize, when I told you in the beginning, when I told myself that I didn't care, I told myself, because a lot of us give ourselves room for excuses to be comfortable. I told myself, I don't care, Elsie. I was like, I don't care what you have to do. But by the end of this January, and that's how you have to be, right? And that's how you attract good things in your life. That's how you attract opportunities in this life. You have to tell yourself that you don't care, right, how you're going to make it happen, but you make it happen. And God aligns with the people who are convicted in the truth that they are saying. Because there's a very let me tell you, when you've reached that stage of no turning back, when you've reached that stage where you believe what you are saying is true, and you believe that there is a way, and you believe that there is a means at which by the end of this month my life will change, and you are actively working. I remember there were times I was sleeping at 1 a.m. 2 a.m. that period of my life. I don't care what it will take. My life has to change. Like, it has to change, and it may not change like this. That is untrue. Your life will not change like this. But it will change a lot faster when you're convicted and saying, I don't, like, and it has to come to a level of being so tired with your life. Like inward tiredness. Because inward tiredness is what leads you to not care about other people's opinions. Inward tiredness is what leads you to stop caring about your own excuses. Inward tiredness is what leads you to an active change in the way that you behave, right? Because you're like, you know what? I'm tired of these patterns and behaviors that have solidified this life, that have solidified the life I don't want. I don't want this life, and I'm willing to risk it. When you're in that place, let me tell you, there's a different feeling to life. There's a different level of peace that you have when you've done everything in your capacity to make sure that what you've been, envisioned, or what you've envisioned to be your life, or the life that you want, or to be the life that God gave you to vision and you're supposed to actualize. There's a very different level of peace that comes with knowing you've done everything that you can. And when you have done everything that you can, there is no way that you won't succeed. There is no way that your life won't change. But you cannot play it safe. Because I also come to say this, right? There were so many things that once I started this path that, God instructed me to do, that were not playing it safe. In fact, to most people, it would actually seem like I was crazy. Like, what is crazy to other people is faith to me. Right? Not because I am crazy, not because they are crazy, but because the level of faith that it takes, and the way that faith is actually actualized, right? And the way that faith is as an action. Faith is intangible, but you have to have tangible proof of believing in things you don't know will happen. Because that's what faith is. That's what this whole thing is about. Faith is believing in things that you do not see, right? And it's also acting in ways that you do not know what it will lead to, right? And most of those, in the same way faith can seem crazy, the same way the actions that you have to do seem crazy. It seems crazy because most of the times when you're creating a life that that is uniquely defined by you, means you have to go through unique challenges, and people may not understand the challenges that you're going through, right? But you're not playing it safe, because playing it safe is doing what every single other person is doing and expecting that your life will be different. Do not tell me that you want an extraordinary life and then tell me that you want to play it safe, because those two words are not synonyms of each other. Extraordinary, crazy, extraordinary manifestation, extraordinary faith. Those are it's range of synonyms, right? But the antonym to extraordinary, right, is normal. It's neutral. It's it's playing it safe. That's the antonym, right? They're not the same thing. In fact, they're complete polar opposites. So I ask you today: are you going to continue playing it safe? Are you going to continue living a life you don't want to live? Right? And then continuing to live in that way, and then expecting that the God is going to align you the path that you're not actively moving in. You have to move, and moving doesn't mean you know what the outcome will be. You don't know what the outcome of moving is going to be, but one thing, that your life will never be the same as it was before. That your life is not going to look the same way. Why? Because opportunities find those who are moving, not those who are sitting still. And I promise you, there are so many opportunities in this world. And I stand in a position where, even just, let me say, in Africa alone, where I'm actively looking at and actively trying to build the infrastructure that comes to like African entrepreneurship. And I can promise you, if I could list you the opportunities just in the creative industry, we could be here for a lifetime. It is, in fact, there's some that haven't even been discovered yet. That's how many opportunities have not even been tapped into. There's so many opportunities. And there's so many opportunities that you are supposed to create in this world. The more that you play the safe life, where you try to manifest, an extraordinary life through a simple, ordinary life, right? Those things don't match up. If I played it safe, right, and I try to, appease everybody, and I try to play it neutral, I wouldn't be where I am today. I am where I am today because I am very aggressive when it comes to the things I believe are part of my purpose and God's plan for me. I will go to all lengths to know that I have done everything that I could. And I remember posting something about, I sent 24 emails, right? And only 3 of them got a response. Email crazy institutions, people who probably, some of them probably looked at my message and laughed. They were like, who is this person? Who is this hand, dog? Like, what is she doing, right? And looked at me like I was crazy for a bit, right? But the ones who actually had faith in what I was saying were the ones that granted the person I needed to get the opportunity. But if I was not crazy, the person would not get that opportunity, and nor would that person build trust and credibility and just, reliability through me. But I had to move first. I had to be the first mover, not everybody else. No, I had to be the first mover. So you cannot play it safe and expect that your life will change. You cannot play it safe and expect that things will be different. You cannot play it safe and expect an extraordinary life. Because 99% of people don't live an extraordinary life. They live the life that other people told them to live. And if you want to live an extraordinary life, you have to completely flip your beliefs on its head. You have to completely flip the things that you believe to be normal on its head and actually be like, this is not normal. It is not normal that I'm being told the life that I must live. It is not normal that I have one life to live and I'm being stuck in systems that nobody is questioning. Why shouldn't I question it? Why shouldn't I get to shape my life when it's my life? When I don't have another opportunity at this, when I don't know what happens after I die. This is my one chance. And if I choose to take that risk, if I choose to move forward, if I choose to not play it safe, I would live the life I've always wanted to live. I never believed that my life could get this good. I never believed that my life could get this good. I never believed that I could heal to this extent. I never believed that the pains I face at that moment would ever fade away. I never believed that. But here I am walking in the small faith that I had has given me this life. And I thank God every single day that I was willing to live an extraordinary life, and I will continue to be willing to just be aggressive in my faith, even though I may not know where I'm going. But I'd rather be a blind woman walking, right, than a seeing woman, right, blindly going. That for me is just a given in life. I would rather walk blindly into what I do not know with faith, having hope that it will work and having belief in the God that I serve and the God that I know, than to walk seeing, literally walking myself, literally actively watching myself go to a life, seeing it, and it is the given life that I'm being told I must live, but I myself don't believe in it, but I'm seeing myself actively walking there. I cannot live, I personally just cannot. I cannot, in my heart, in my soul, I cannot go to bed with myself knowing I have not actively tried to just make a difference, or just make a difference in my own life. I cannot go to sleep. Like, for some of us, it is not that we are chasing these things because, maybe we think that we deserve more. No, some of us are chasing these things because we cannot go to bed with ourselves if we don't. I cannot accept myself accepting the bare minimum. I cannot go to sleep knowing I have not pushed myself to my potential, knowing that this world that is filled with so much abundance, I'm living in scarcity. Not because the world is actually scarce, but because my mentality and my perception of the world is scarce. I cannot live with myself. I cannot go to sleep. I have tried. I cannot go to sleep. I cannot live with myself living like that. If you want an extraordinary life, right, and you're willing to walk by yourself, and you're willing to be in isolation for long periods of time, and you're willing to break fundamental beliefs about yourself and your life and life in general and your worldviews and perspectives, and you're willing to go through the pain of that, you live an incredible life, right? But don't expect to play it safe and expect that your life will be extraordinary.